Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Anthony. You are, of course, tuned in to the VR Game Rankings YouTube channel, and this is the daily vlog series, and today is Tuesday, February 6th. This is episode 92, and let's go ahead and jump right into the show. Okay, so of course, every day I take a look at all of the various news stories, and I'm looking for big news stories that resonate with me in a certain way, something exciting and interesting to talk about. And I gotta tell you guys, today I didn't really find anything spectacular, so I'm just gonna work with what we have. So I have a handful of news stories. I do have a little bit of game discussion as well, so we'll just see how it all shakes out. But let's go ahead and start with the first news story of the day. And of course, the biggest news story of today is that Sairento VR has left early access and is now officially available. The final version is officially available. It's ready for everybody out there. You can go ahead and pick this up on Steam. I believe it is $29.99 on Steam. There is a bundle that you can buy that comes with a couple of other games. I believe Zombie, and I forget what the other one is, but there is a bundle you can get where you can get a little bit of a discount on Sairento VR and also a couple of other games. So there is that as well. And the interesting thing about Sairento VR's release, being fully available today, is it goes back to the story that I had yesterday where I said that I don't really believe in this idea of not reviewing early access games. And it's funny because Sairento VR is actually a very good example for both sides of this coin. Do you guys realize that Sairento VR released back in late December of 2016. Late December of 2016. This game has been available for over a year. For well over a year, people have been playing Sairento VR. Now, the developer Mixed Realms has continued to make updates to this game over time. And so if the idea of not reviewing a game until it's out of early access, I would have had to wait over a year. I mean, the game would have been available for a year, people buying it for a year, people playing it for a year, and I don't review the game. Does that make any sense? No, it doesn't. Now, we do have a review of this game on VR Game Rankings. I actually did not do this review. This review was done by a contributor that was helping out our website at the time. I don't play every single game there is, and I do have a few contributors that have helped out with the website over the course of the website being available. And one of these contributors did this review. Now, they gave the game an 86, and they really loved the game. They really liked the game, and 86 is actually a very good score. If you get a score in the 80s or 90s, that is a great game. If you have a score in the 90s, I mean, that's an outstanding game. But 86 is like translates to very good. That is a very good game. So I will definitely reach out to this contributor and ask them if they maybe could revisit the game now that it's out of early access, and maybe they need to make some adjustments to the review. Maybe that 86 score can creep up a little bit higher, or maybe they feel like that score still stands. I'm not sure exactly what their feelings is going to be on that, but that's kind of how I plan to handle early access. And now another question you guys might have is like, dude, why have you not played Sairento VR? It's considered one of the clearly best VR games we have on VR Game Rankings. This game is perpetually in the top 20 on both the Vive and even the Oculus Rift as well. It seems to get ranked very high, especially within the last several months. It seems to get ranked higher and higher. And my answer to this question, and this kind of goes to any of these games out there that you guys are wondering, why hasn't Anthony talked about this game? Why hasn't Anthony talked about that game? Well, basically, I have to get back to this reality situation here where, as somebody that is running this YouTube channel, VR Game Rankings, I'm running the VR Game Rankings website, and all of the different things that I'm doing here, I have to have a budget for everything, okay? So there's a lot of different things that the website needs to do. There's different things that the that the YouTube channel needs to do. I'd like to get a new camera at some point. In fact, this camera, I've been screwing around with the camera. I don't know if you guys have noticed any change in the video, but I don't like the video quality of this camera at all. I really need a new camera. The camera that I want is this Canon that costs like about $1,000. Okay, so there's investments that need to be made. There's all these different things that I want to buy. I want to get like a really nice green screen setup with really good lighting. I've tried to do green screen before and it just came out absolute garbage. And I think the reason is I didn't have the correct lighting. And so I'd like to get the right kind of lights. I'd like to get the right kind of camera. I want to improve this show. And so I have to consider a budget for all kinds of different things, not just games that are coming out. Now, do I never buy a game with my own money? No, that's not true. I bought The Impatient in the month of January. That was kind of the purchase that I made with my own money. And that's an example where I got burned. But, you know, when it comes to Sony, they don't give codes to people like me. I'm not well enough known. I don't have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, so I'm not getting any codes from Sony. And so I have to keep a handful of money off to the side for these big VR games that come out that I really should talk about. A game like The Impatient, whether it's good or bad, I should still have a take on that. And I got to set this money aside and I got to be ready for games like that. So a game like Sairento VR, I've never happened to buy this game myself personally, and it's not because I'm not interested in it. It's because I got to save my money for newer games. Sairento VR, even though it is out of early access, and this is big news, this game has been available for a year. It's not like it's a brand new game that no one has ever heard of. This game has been around. People back in late December of 2016 were playing this game. So this is not a brand new game. So I kind of have to save my money for more of these brand new games. One thing I will say though, hey, I have a Steam account. It is VR_game_rankings, all lowercase VR game rankings with underscores in between there. And if somebody wants to buy a game for that account, you know, hey, I'm not gonna stop you. So definitely, if anybody wants to buy a game on that account, go right ahead. I can't absolutely guarantee that I will give coverage to that game, but most likely I will at least download the game and at least try to play it. So if anybody wants to help out as far as that goes, you know, fine, go ahead. I have no problems with that. So anyway, that's my take on Sairento VR. It is out of early access. I'm curious as to what your guys' opinions are. Has this game, if any of you have had it like for the longest time, has it really truly improved by leaps and bounds? How much better do you think it is? And, you know, I know my good buddy Erwin X has put in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into Sairento VR. He's like, this is probably his favorite VR game, and he's absolutely raved to me about this game. Hopefully, maybe Sairento VR will end up on one of these free Oculus weekends, and then I can get a try of the game, or maybe there will be a demo. You know, I highly encourage all VR developers out there, if you could provide a demo, even if it's just a timed demo where you get 10 minutes with the game and then the timer just shuts off and that's it. Because I know a lot of developers complain that they don't really have time to work on a demo because they're trying to update the full game. They're trying to improve the full game for the people that have really paid the money for the game, and their concentration is on that. And if they spend all this time working on a demo, then what sense does that make? But there has to be a way to just have a timed demo, right? That wouldn't, you know, you just give somebody 20 minutes and then the timer shuts off and that's it. And somebody could get a taste of a game in 20 minutes, I would think. So that would be cool, but we'll have to see what happens as far as that goes. But that is Sairento VR. It is currently available right now out of early access. Okay, story number 2. This is actually a story from last week. I didn't get to this story, but I thought this would be relatively interesting to talk about. It's an interesting topic. And so you guys may have heard of VirZOOM, which is basically this exercise bike. and this software that goes with this exercise bike. And the way it works is you can buy this exercise bike. You can use it with your PlayStation VR. You can use it with your HTC Vive, and you can use it with your Oculus Rift. And what it does is you put on your headset, you get on this exercise bike, and you start riding the bike. And in the actual game, there's basically a game that is built around it. And the idea is basically to make exercising fun, to make exercising enjoyable. And I think when it comes to VR and when it comes to AR, I think that this is going to be an incredible opportunity for exercising that just takes on a completely different feel. Because one of the biggest problems that all of us have when it comes to exercising, when we think about, oh man, I got to lift weights, or I got to go for a jog, or I got to do this, or I got to do that, whatever it is, a lot of times when you think about that, you don't think about it with a level of excitement. You think about it with a level of dread, like, oh man, I got to go do, I got to go do my jog. I got to do it. I got to do it. I don't want to do it, but I got to do it. And that's how we feel a lot of times when it comes to exercise. And that's really what VirZOOM is trying to do here with this exercise bike. And the reason they're in the news is because they just had a second round of funding where they received a $5.5 million investment towards this company. And I understand that this money is being used to kind of work on a second generation version of their bike, and to also work on what they call the VZ sensor, the VirZOOM sensor, which will be added to existing stationary bikes. So if you have a really nice heavy duty stationary bike that you paid a lot of money for and you'd like to use it with this VirZOOM software, there is going to be a sensor that you can add to your existing bike, and you can use that. So you don't necessarily have to buy the VirZOOM bike. Now, the VirZOOM bike goes for $400. I checked on their website. It's currently on back order, but this is something that's starting to show up at exercise centers, and it's starting to become this thing. And I really feel like there's a lot of opportunity here. And one of the things that I think about, now I've talked about this before, when it comes, actually, I think it was on a VR roundtable episode, I talked about this. We were talking about how it's so hilarious that we are eventually going to be able to perfectly simulate the idea of getting in a car and driving a car. We're going to eventually have a perfect simulation of this, because when we eventually have photorealism, and when we combine it with a motion simulator seat, and we combine it with a nice steering wheel and with a clutch and with a stick shift, where you get into this seat, you have your headset on, you're holding the steering wheel, your feet is on the gas pedals and the clutch, you have that shifter in your hand. Once we have photorealism, it's basically, we can simulate the driving experience. There could be no difference. Eventually, I'm talking like 10 years from now, we can get to the point where we can perfectly simulate driving a car. Well, what about riding a bike? We can pretty much perfectly simulate that, and it's a hell of a lot cheaper than having some specialized motor sensor chair that might cost $10,000 to try to simulate being in a car. And so riding a bike, this is a sensation that all of us have had. Now, the thing about VirZOOM, I've seen, I saw this a long time ago when it first came out, and I thought, this is interesting. This is something I'm actually kind of interested in. But the more I looked at it, it just looks kind of flimsy. It doesn't look very strong and very sturdy. The standard VirZOOM can support up to 260 pounds. So if you are a heavier person, a taller person with more weight, you would actually have to go with a legitimate stationary bike and add the sensor on to be able to do that. But basically, my feeling is that, yeah, I do want to have a bike that I can get on and have these virtual reality biking simulator situation. Imagine that you're on a bike, it's a zombie apocalypse, and you can't get off of your bike for some reason. I mean, they have to figure out some way to make this work, but you're stuck on a bike, you can't get off the bike, you have to use the bike to go wherever you need to go and do what you need to do, and put you into that environment and make it seem really real, and you're getting a hell of a lot of exercise out of it at the same time. time. But what I think the bike needs to be better. I think there needs to be like some force feedback, some rumble. I almost feel like you need to get on the bike, but the bike needs to be on some type of suspension thing where it's not even touching a ground, or it's not even firmly locked into anything, so that when you're riding, you can go over bumps, and you could like, maybe it somehow, like, it almost needs to be a motion simulator is basically what I'm saying. So maybe it will get up there to the $10,000 range that we would have with cars. But I do believe that eventually we could have an incredible bike. Like, you should be able to turn the handlebars to turn yourself in real life. The brake should be, everything should be set so that when you're on the bike and you're doing this, you're not distracted in any way, shape, or form with it not being real. Everything needs to feel real. The turning has to feel real. The bumps, the vibration, the shaking, whatever. Like if you're going over a puddle, there needs to be sound effects or something. I mean, we need to figure this all out, but I think it's a great idea. So I am kind of interested in this. I hope their second generation bike is vastly improved, and I like to see some stuff going on in this kind of category. I remember I used to belong to this one gym one time, and you would go there and they would have these rowing machines, and you would get into this rowing machine, and it actually had a screen, and you were rowing in this boat, and on the screen it would show, how fast your boat is going. But that could be in VR as well. Rock climbing in VR. There's all kinds of things that we could do from an exercising standpoint in VR that can make the exercising fun and enjoyable. And you start to forget the fact that you're even exercising. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and segue into Sparc, the free weekend for Sparc on Oculus Rift. Did you guys try this? Because I think this is an incredible exercising game. I did download the full version of Sparc, even though I have it on PlayStation VR. I got the full version of Sparc for the Oculus free weekend. I was playing it this weekend. Now, honestly, I was mostly in the challenges area. I wasn't even playing somebody one-on-one. I actually like the challenges area, and I'm happy to say that I got into the top 10 in throwing range number 2. Throwing range number 2, I was up at number 6 overall, VR game rankings. You'll see it there. I got my time down to like 27 seconds and something. I forget what it was. 27 seconds, 0.154 or something like that was my time. And I was ranked at number 6. I don't know if I'm ranked at number 6 now, but if you guys can go in there, you can check that out. But this is like an exercise game, man. Sparc, it feels so good. It is so clean. It is so crisp. One of the things that I always talk about when I talk about Sparc is it reminds me in certain ways of Portal. Yeah, it reminds me of Portal. Now, it's not a puzzle game. I mean, it really doesn't have anything to do with Portal, but it's something about the graphics, something about the aesthetic of it. It has this kind of clinical look to it, this very static look to it, very, man, what's the word for it? It's kind of a clinical laboratory kind of a look, a sterile look to it, very clean, very crisp, and just a great game. I was doing the challenge mode for that, and the Oculus touch controllers, absolutely perfect for Sparc, because in the game, it's like you're actually using Oculus touch controllers anyway. I mean, that's what it looks like you're holding in your hands, so it just melts perfectly in. And I didn't actually do the head-to-head gameplay. I don't know if anybody else out there maybe tried that, how that worked out, but had a lot of fun with Sparc, and that's an example of enjoyable exercise. Super Hot is the same way. You can play Super Hot, you get quite a bit of exercise out of playing Super Hot. Sprint Vector, which is coming out later this week, that's an exercise game. You're going to have to take off your sweatshirt or your long sleeve shirt or whatever, because you're going to start to get a little bit hot. You're going to start to get maybe just a little bit sweaty, but you get this enjoyable exercise. It's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's one of the best things that VR brings to the experience. And I just can't say enough about that. But anyway, guys, we've been taking a lot of time on this. I just wanted to cover one other thing before we bounce out of here. One last thing is, this is on the PlayStation VR subreddit, but a Redditor caught this, and this might be kind of interesting. They notice that there are 2 entries for the Persistence on the Sony PSN, and one of them is to pre-order the game, which is coming out July 24th, The Persistence. This is this roguelike game, kind of reminds people of Dead Space in VR, looks really good. You can actually play this on Demo Disc 2, there's a demo for it, but there's another entry that showed up that has the date of February 20th. And so some people are wondering, oh, maybe the Persistence is coming out on February 20th. Maybe this July 24th date is incorrect. But what one guy said is he looked at it and it seems like it may be a demo. So we might have a brand new demo of the Persistence on February 20th that could be a brand new build of the game, and a much more updated build than the one that is on demo disc number 2. So this is something that PlayStation VR owners can look forward to later this month. Now, this is not confirmed. This is very much a rumor at this point, but hopefully we get this new Persistence demo. We can get a new feel for this game, The Persistence. I don't know about you guys. I am a huge fan of Dead Space. Oh my goodness, EA, please do something with Dead Space. I would love to see the original Dead Space game brought to VR and completely redone in VR. And that's kind of what the Persistence is. So definitely looking forward to the Persistence as well. Alrighty, folks. So that is going to go ahead and wrap it up. This has been episode 92 of the Daily Vlog series for Tuesday, February 6th. And I will see everybody tomorrow on Wednesday. So take it easy. See everybody tomorrow. Later.